Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to another Battlefield terrain video. There are a number of videos already in this series, but the whole idea behind this is to show you not just terrain, battle mats and so on, but just to show you the entire terrain setup for games of 40k, and you're welcome to copy any number of the aspects displayed here. Some quite simple things to do, some quite basic, and then others requiring a bit more effort, but just combine the whole lot together to give you a battlefield to fight your games of 40k across. So the theme with this terrain here is like a rusty, grimy, blood-splattered industrial complex here. So very sort of grim, dark, gory, dark chaos kind of atmosphere here. And really the main word here is atmosphere. Trying to create an atmosphere on the battlefield, perfect for Space Marines to fight against chaos, for example, for Necrons to emerge from the shadows, and so on. So a bit more of a darker kind of twist here. Some of the battlefield setups are quite scenic, but this one here particularly dark and sinister looking. It's very atmospheric for your games of 40k. So as per usual in this series, I'll guide you through step by step, so I'll start from the basic foundation, and then I'll point out and show you all the details in this mat, and you're free to copy everything that you see here if you're an inspiration for your battlefields, but it's also to show you how quite straightforward it is to achieve a decent terrain setup. Then also, as per usual, links are in the video description below. I'll try and leave as much information as possible to help you out. So, the foundation, first of all, it sort of gives you a colour palette. You can see this battle mat across here. It's from Gamemat.eu. It's called Necropolis. This one here is actually 6x4 in size, but to make it generally the size for games of 40k now, I've actually laid another mat across the end of it here, making it 60 inches across in size for the games of 40k that we play. But if you check out Gamemat.eu, they do a very large variety of battle mats, also lots of different sizes available from them as well, whatever size you decide to go for. And then they also do double-sided battle mats as well, so you can get two mats in one for even more cost effectiveness. But the mats are great. They roll out nice and flat. You store them well, roll them out nice and flat, nice and soft, nice and quiet for dice rolling. Figure friendly as well. If models get knocked over, especially more delicate ones, then it's a softer surface that they land on. When you're rolling the dice, you don't get that clattering sound, but nice sort of soft sound with these, and they just sit nice and flat on the board. It's like a rubber mouse mat material, and then another material on top with the design printed there. But that's your foundation. That gives you these rusty oranges, browns, black kind of colours, sort of areas of blood splatter across here. You can see open areas of all goo and skeletons inside and all sorts of stuff going on there. So very sort of chaos feel to this one here. It's a nice atmospheric battle mat. I have to say, this was one of the battle mats I was very sceptical of when I first got hold of it, because it didn't really match any of the terrain that I had, and I sort of stored it away for a good while. But pulling together some terrain that I've had or have already, and then spraying up some other stuff to match in. There's a few tricks that I'll show you in this video how to get your terrain to match in nicely with the mat. Because it depends how fussy you are, but I like to have the terrain match in with the mat, sort of blend the whole thing in so the whole terrain looks like it belongs together. Sometimes you get a hold of a mat with one style, terrain painted another, and the two don't match. It doesn't look right. So part of the aim of this video is, in this episode here, is to show you sort of that blending ability to get terrain to match in nicely with the mat. So that's your foundation battle mat here by Gamemat.eu. Then moving on to terrain. So I've got a combination of terrain going on here. I've got official Games Workshop terrain here. This is from Games Workshop as well. And then accessories, which I'll cover a bit later on. And then also using the industrial terrain set from Gamemat.eu. So these two buildings here are actually separate, but I've pushed them together for this game. So that's industrial terrain set. This larger building across here, which features in a lot of our games, that's from Gamemat.eu. That's the industrial terrain set as well. And there's a lot more aspects to that set. It's a larger set, so you actually get another 2 of these. You get 4 large containers, pipes as well as the larger building across there. So it's one of the larger terrain sets that they do. But I've just used some elements of it here in this game. So just to give you an idea of creating atmosphere and getting terrain to match. So I've painted 2 of those. We're using corn red, sort of AdMech colour scheme. Then 2 others I've painted in this colour scheme across here. Now for this particular battle mat, I've left these ones out and just kept the red ones. And you'll see that across the terrain, even with my boxes across here, I have more Munitorum armoured containers. I have them in blue and grey, green for Astra Munitorum, but I've left those out of this setup and just gone for rusty reds and metallics, just specifically to match in with the mat, just to create the same uniform atmosphere across the board. So that's one of the tricks that you can do. So any terrain that doesn't colour-wise doesn't match in, I mean it'd look all right, but I've deliberately left those out just to keep that continuity across the board. So when you get a hold of this set from Gamemat.eu, it comes in this kind of grey colour scheme. It's grey, sort of green kind of colours. There's some effects done to it, but I've actually enhanced this here quite straightforward. So adding some metallics on, some chipping effects, some washes, some propaganda posters have been added. There's a full tutorial for that, so I'm not going to run through it here in this video, but how to go about enhancing a terrain set doesn't take too long, because the terrain's been built for you, the foundation colour's already on there, you're just adding a few extra bits on top just to enhance it further. So there's a full tutorial for that already on the channel that'll guide you through the whole process. I'll put a link for that in the video description below. So that's for this terrain across here, this terrain across here as well. Then for the Games Workshop terrain, that Adeptus Mechanicus terrain across here, there's a larger structure across the other side. There's a full tutorial for that on the channel. It shows you how to paint, do the posters as well. There's a number of posters featured on the terrain, really sort of creating the 40k kind of atmosphere as well. This other terrain that I'm using specifically for this mat, so it's this one here in the center. It's called the Warp Portal. That's from Gamemat.eu, and there's another one over across the other side in the corner. That's called the Landing Pad. It's an individual piece of terrain from Gamemat.eu as well, just some extras that you can use and add to your collection. That comes separately as well, available from them. So the painting process for this, because this has been enhanced, and it's actually the same painting process for this Games Workshop terrain across here. You see I've tried to match the rusty, part metallic, rusty, blood splatters, grime kind of effect. I've tried to replicate that onto this terrain just here. This effect that you see matches in quite nicely, takes seconds, minutes, hardly any time at all. This is a very fast process. Same with this as well, trying to get these colours to blend in with this. Very, very straightforward indeed. So this piece of Games Workshop terrain across here, there's a number of colours running through this. I haven't taken a paintbrush to this at all. It's all done by sprays. If people work at different levels, there may be some watching that want to take their time and create more detail, in which case, you know, painting the terrain up, taking your time and so on. If you could do that, it's fantastic. Others may be watching where you do want to create effects, but you don't have much time, or you're not too skilled, or don't want to get into terrain too much, but you still want the effects, then go for this method here. This is the get effects, but super quick kind of method here. So that's the kind of effects you can achieve. So you've got different colours running through this. So the first step is build your terrain, or take the pre-painted terrain, whichever option you're going to go for, or go for both. And then I give it a coat of this here, which is the plate mail metal from Army Painter. You could easily use another spray from someone else. You could use the Games Workshop spray lead belcher, but I've gone for Army Painter here for this terrain. So just spray the whole thing in the silver, spray that in the silver, so the whole thing is completely coated. For terrain, Games Workshop terrain paints and accessories, I'll put a link, well the link's already there, it's for the OUTPOST. They do discount 40k, so you can get a hold of your painting accessories from them. They also do their own range of spray paints as well. So, but that one is Army Paint I'm using for this one here. Once that's done completely dry, we're then going to start to add effects to this. So you try and pick out, look at the colours in here, and then try and add small layers of those colours just to blend the whole thing in, and you should get that sort of mottled kind of finish. It looks okay. The effect, I think, is decent enough even on larger buildings. So the colours I use, the first colour I put on is a little bit of this one. It's that colour there, desert yellow, bit of a surprise, but it's kind of that, I don't want a glaring orange, so I've gone for more like a desert yellow kind of colour, and I give a quick wisp, a quick spray of that across the terrain piece. You may not see it specifically, and that's because it's been blended in with other sprays being added on top. So that one comes on first. Then actually use some leather brown, Army Painter, spraying that across, but being careful not to, it's small bits of spray because I want the silver to be seen through this, so I don't want complete coverage here. I just want flicks of spray coming across. And then if you look at the terrain, it's not just browns and sand colour going on, but there's oranges and reds going on. So lightly and gently, a bit of red, pure red. You're not spraying it solid, but a few wisps of it across, and that'll give it a dash of red across here, and that'll help create that rust effect. Perhaps see a little bit more of it just there. And you're starting to get those same tones that you see on the battle mat. And then around the base of the terrain, around here, perhaps you can see it a bit grimier and dirtier. That would happen naturally as grime flicks up onto the base, perhaps from rain and so on. Then I actually tone that right down, a bit of Chaos Black from Games Workshop. Not spraying directly here, but on a piece of card, spraying about there, and then the flick and the dust of it goes on and catches the base. So not spraying directly because I don't want solid black, but spraying about here, and then it just rolls up and catches the base of that, just to tone the lower part of that down. So hopefully you can see that on camera, just there. But that's that grimy kind of effect, using only spray cans, no brushwork at all. You can do a whole terrain set within minutes, and you go from solid silver, sticks out on the table, doesn't look right, to something that blends in nicely. And it's not just this terrain set, you can do it. Whatever colour scheme you see on the battle mat, you just pick out the colours with spray cans, and then just flick those colours across, and then just watch the whole thing blend in. So I've done it to these terrain pieces across here, smaller bits, and I've used exactly the same process on this larger warp portal in the middle, and seems to have worked just fine. It sits quite nicely on the board. So that would be the emphasis for this particular video. Simple effects and techniques to get results. I've seen comments from people saying, well, I'm very nervous about getting into terrain. I'm not sure which way to go about doing it. I don't have the skills and so on and so on. Well, if you're going to experiment and give it a go, enter in at this level here. So basic sprays, creating effect and atmosphere, so easily done, and you can get some great effects as you see here on the board. I'm happy enough with the way that's come out, and may even not take any more extra work with these, just leave them as they are. I think they look fine on the board. So we've got AdMech terrain, a mixture of terrain from Gamemat.eu sitting on top of this mat, and it's not just this style that you see across here. Whatever game mat you decide to go for, pick out the colours from that, match your terrain in, so it doesn't have to be these red colours, it could be a grey, this colour scheme going on, different tones, whatever mat it is, same process, nice and straightforward. So then you've got your main terrain sorted out across the board. I've also got the pipes and so on here from Games Workshop, just putting those onto the table. All these kind of things add a nice lot of atmosphere. So then you've got Munitorum armoured containers. I'll put a link for that. It's a full tutorial for that already on the channel, so that'll guide you through that process. And then you're on to smaller stuff here. There's some battlefield accessories scattered across the board. Just breaks the terrain up. Little features, little AdMech bits here, some barrels stacked up, just little areas, little stories you're telling across the board. I have a few accessories. That's the cat from Space Hulk. That's from Space Hulk, that dead Terminator on the throne. There's a dead Terminator across there. Just these little dioramas on the table. That Terminator is actually from the Toxicrone model from the Tyranids. I swapped, it's actually standing on top of him as it's walking forwards. I swapped him out, put a rock under its foot instead, and then painted him up as a little accessory to add onto the board. So those kind of things just add real life and atmosphere to the battlefield. Things like dropped weapons. There's a lasgun from some guardsman who ran away in terror. There's a pulse rifle. There's a Krut rifle. Little small details like that, but just again just adds to the atmosphere of the board, makes it look like it belongs in the realm of Warhammer 40,000. So obviously on terrain like this, there's no scrub bushes and trees, but to further blend the whole thing in, you'll notice these small areas of stone here and here, larger ones inside this crater, and you see the way it all just blends the whole thing in. This terrain looks like it belongs on the board, and the stones just help to merge the whole thing in to the table. Easily done. Take your stones, and then the same sprays that you've used on the terrain here, I then put those stones out on tray, and then spray them with the same process I've done the terrain. So I used, first spray I used was the brown. Sprayed it, let it dry, shake the stones, they rotate over. Some of the bigger stones I actually physically flip them over, give another spray of the brown, just the main colour to go onto those. Then actually use some of the Chaos Black across the stones, again letting that tray of stones dry, and then shaking them up and flipping them over again. A little bit of this one as well to come in across, but not too much. And then just to give a red kind of tinge and a bit of a blood splatter to them, I then use the pure red as well from Army Painter. And then just as much or as little as you want. If you do too much red, then just spray a bit more brown on top, too much black and so on. Just keep alternating the colours. But those stones, all shapes of different sizes, actually got the stones from a beach. But they were a sandy kind of tone. They didn't match in with this. And so the best way to match it in is to take the same sprays and then use that on the stones, and then it's guaranteed to match in nicely with the terrain that you have, because you've used the exact same colours. So don't go overboard with the stones, not too many of them, just a few random scatterings of them, a few more around here, just around the terrain. Notice that there's not too many of them, and they're not too neat. You want randomness and sort of natural kind of look. Don't look like some caretaker's gone around with a broom and nicely piled everything up. But you want a bit of random scatter here to make it look genuine and realistic on the battlefield. Same with this little ruin across here. You can see the stones, the sprayed up terrain, a few little accessories, a little part of I think it's perhaps a Lehman Russ kit there, spare piece. Little details like that just to make the whole thing blend in nicely. So that's it. That's from start to finish. Foundation of the battle mat, a variety of terrain, smaller accessories being used. I had a quick process for these pieces of terrain that you see through here. Just spray silver and then a flick of whatever colours you can pick out from the mat. Very, very straightforward, very, very fast. There's no reason why you couldn't do an entire board sprayed up using that method. And then final accessories such as tiny little details to add in. And then finally the stones sprayed up using the exact same process that you've used to actually spray up the terrain. So I hope that's helped you. Sometimes you see a terrain setup like this and you may be not sure where to begin, but the idea of this video series is to break the whole thing down for you step by step, and you're free to copy any of the ideas given here and follow the processes along. Check out the links in the video description below. That'll take you to the various resources that are already available. And happy terrain constructing and painting. It's a major aspect of 40k. It's so rewarding to put together decent terrain, and it gives you a brilliant backdrop and a great atmosphere as you play your games of Warhammer 40,000. Do check out the other videos in the series. There's a good few to this collection now. So if you're not keen on this set here, then check out the others, all sorts of different terrain sets, videos that I've done showing you from start to finish what to do. But that's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.